Welcome to today's video on start of Unit 8, which will start talking about exponential expressions, and then we'll get into equations and then logarithms. So first, talk about fractional exponents. And notice whenever you have a fractional exponent that it's basically power over root. So for example, 81 to the 3/2, that is the 81 to the third, but the square root. So it's the square root of 81 to the third. So we go power over root. You can write it either way. You could take the square root of 81 and then to the third power, or you could go 81 to the third square root. However, the numbers are a lot easier to deal with if you do it this way as opposed to the other way. So that's what I usually like to do. So for example, the square root of 81 is 9, and 9 to the third is then 729, as opposed to raising 81 to the third and then trying to take the square root of that number. But either way will work. So for example, here it's 16 to the 3/4. So you have the fourth root of 16 cubed. Well, the fourth root of 16 is 2. 2 to the third is 8. 8 to the negative 5/3. So this means it's the cube root of 8 raised to the negative 5th power. So the cube root of 8 is 2. 2 to the negative 5th means it's 1 over 2 to the 5th, which is 1 over 32. 9 to the 3/2. So this is the square root of 9 cubed. So it's 3 to the third, which is 27. So here, 1 over the cube root of 81 to the negative 3/4. Well, so that makes it 1 over 81 to the 1/3 power to the negative 3/4, which means that this is the same as saying 81 to the negative 1/3 raised to the negative 3/4. And now remember, when you raise a number to a power, that you multiply the exponents. So negative 1/3 times negative 3/4 cancels out and gives you positive 1/4. So basically it's 81 to the 1/4, which means it's the fourth root of 81, which is 3. So let's try the next one. 16 to the negative 5th to the 1/20th. So remember, negative 5 times 1/20th is negative 1/4. So 16 to the negative 1/4 means that you're taking the fourth root of 16, but you're raising it to the negative 1st power, which means you're taking 2 to the negative 1st, which is 1/2. So next we have these ones with variables. So this is a b to the third to the 1/2 power, because whenever you take the square root, it's to the 1/2 power. So then it's going to be a to the 1/2, b to the 3/2. Final answer. So here we have 1 over xy to the 5th to the 1/3 power. So basically this is x y to the 5th to the negative 1/3. So then it's x to the negative 1/3 and y to the negative 5/3. All right, so that's the final answer. And then for number 9, we have 8b to the 6th c to the negative fourth, and that's raised to the 1/3 power. So it's 8 to the 1/3, b to the 6/3, and c to the negative 4/3. Well, 8 to the 1/3 is going to be the same as 2, because the cube root of 8 is 2, b squared, and then c to the negative 4/3. The last one here, remember, fourth root is going to be to the 1/4 power. So you have 16 to the 3rd, x to the negative 2nd, y to the negative 6th, to the 1/4 power. So it's 16 to the 3/4, x to the negative 1/2, y to the negative 3/2, and you can leave it like that because none of them simplify. All right, so moving on to some problems involving radicals. So we have the square root of 1/3. So you have the square root of 1 over the square root of 3. So let's write this in terms of powers of 3. So for example, square root of 1/3, that's the square root of 1 over the square root of 3, which is 1 over rad 3, which is the same as 3 to the negative 1/2, because rad 3 is 3 to the 1/2. So this would be 1 over 3 to the 1/2. So it's 3 to the negative 1/2. The cube root of 9, that is 3, the cube root of 3 squared. So this would be 3 squared to the 1/3, which is 3 to the 2/3. So you have 3 to the negative 1/2 times 3 to the 2/3. Well, negative 1/2 plus 2/3, because remember, you add when you multiply, you add the exponents. So you get negative 3/6 plus 4/6. So basically, it's equal to 3 to the 1/6. And 3 to the 1/6 is the 6th root of 3. Final answer. All right, so let's try the next one over here. So this is 5 to the 5/6 over, and then the cube root of 25, well, that's 5 squared. So that'll be 5 to the 2/3. So it's divided by 5 to the 2/3. And remember, when you divide, you're going to subtract the exponents. So you got to get a common denominator, which is 6. So it's 4/6. So it's going to be 5 to the 1/6, which is the 6th root of 5. So let's try it again. So 16 to the 1/3. So 16 and 8, the common base would be 2. So this is 2 to the 4th to the 1/3. So that means it's 2 to the 4/3. 8 to the 1/2. Well, 8 as a power of 2 is 2 to the 3rd. And then when you multiply, it gives you 2 to the 3/2. And then you add. So it's 2 to the 4/3 plus 3/2. So getting a common denominator would be 6. So you got to multiply it. So it's 8/6 plus 9/6. So it's 2 to the 17/6. So it's 2 to the 17/6, and when you change that, that means it's the 6th root of 2 to the 17th power, like that. All right. For the next one, it's 4 to the 1/3, but remember 4 can be 2 squared to the 1/3, which means it's 2 to the 2/3. And then the 6th root of 2 is 2 to the 1/6. So when you subtract, it's 2/3 minus 1/6. So it's 2 to the 4/6 minus 1/6. So it's 2 to the 3/6, and 3/6 reduced to 1/2, which is the square root of 2. All right, let's look at the bottom ones. So remember, when we raise it to a power, we multiply. So this is going to be 4 to the 3rd, which is 64. So here it's going to be 5 to the 2 rad 3 times rad 3. So it's going to be 5 to the 2 times 3. So it's going to be 5 to the 6th. And then, so here, when we multiply, we add. So it's 4 minus rad 5 plus 1 plus rad 5. So it's going to be 2 to the 5th, because the rad 5s cancel. And 2 to the 5th is 32. So here it's 9 to the pi plus, sorry, I got to make that a base 3. So remember, 9 is 3 squared. So it's 3 to the 2 pi times 3 to the 3 minus 2 pi. So when you add, notice the 2 pi's cancel, so it's 3 to the 3rd, which is 27. So here, let's simplify the rads first. So it's 6 to the 2 rad 3 times 6 to the 3 rad 3 over 6 to the rad 3. So remember, here you add, so it's going to be 6 to the 5 rad 3 over 6 to the rad 3. And then you subtract, so it's going to be 6 to the 4 rad 3. All right, and finally here, because they're the same base, we're going to subtract. So it's going to be rad 2 plus rad 3 to the 2 plus pi minus pi. The pi's cancel out, so it's going to be rad 2 plus rad 3 squared, and then you can FOIL that. So we FOIL it to make it to make it 2 plus rad 6 plus another rad 6 plus 3. So it's 5 plus 2 rad 6. Final answer. All right, I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll be back talking about solving exponential equations.